everyone, and I am very, very interested in our guest speaker here today, who's Siobhan Daniels. And I'm interested because she's actually living my dream. Some of you may know that I resigned from my job and wanted to set a path for myself, a future for myself that was full of freedom. And for lots of different reasons at the time, which was 7 years ago, believe it or not, I decided to start a business, and I've looked after family. And we do other things, don't we, to distract ourselves, because basically I didn't think I could do it and I was scared. So let's have a little chat with Siobhan here. Thank you for joining us, Siobhan.
It's my pleasure. I'm looking forward to chatting to you.
Great. I came across you online because you're running you've got a Facebook page, and that's what drew me in. And so perhaps you can tell us first, how did you transform your life? What did you do that I didn't do? What did you do?
Well, oh gosh, what did I do that you didn't do? Well, anyhow, I was a nurse for 9 years. Then I had my daughter and was a single mother, and taught myself to type and did typing exams, and managed to get on the BBC trainee reporter scheme. And I worked in local radio for 10 years and in regional television for 20 years. When I hit my sort of mid-50s, I was struggling a lot with life in general. I'd had a sister and a brother who were both 53 who died of lung cancer within a few years of each other. I'd had precancerous cells, so I'd had to have a hysterectomy. I was really struggling with the menopause then, because I went straight into a surgical menopause, hadn't a clue what was happening, and I had that cotton wool brain people talk about, and I was angry with the world. I was struggling in the workplace as well, because I felt marginalized and voiceless, and ageism was at play, things that I know a lot of women are experiencing nowadays. So all that got to me, and one day in particular, I remember going into the toilets at work, having a really good cry and thinking, I'm broken. I can't do this anymore. No, I don't want to do this anymore. And I need to find another way to live. And then sort of over the next, 4 or 5 years, I started hatching this plan, again, like a lot of people do, thinking, how can I get and travel and be out there and feel free and live my authentic life and be mistress of my own destiny? And one morning, the idea of a motorhome just popped into my head. Don't know where it came from, because I'd never holidayed in one, never driven one. And it just seemed the answer, because also at the same time, I was disillusioned with everybody going out and spending lots of money, buying lots of stuff and filling their lives with it. So I got rid of my home, my possessions, everything, bought the motorhome and hit the road.
You've just spoken my thoughts and my feelings exactly. That's been my dream since I was quite young, though. So when I was a teenager, I wanted to have a motorhome and just drive around painting and living a kind of hippie life. But life, other things take over, or you have other parts of your personality that you have to fulfill. So I do commiserate with a lot of what you've been through there. I can relate to it, because I think when you get to a certain age, you do find that you've had these family experiences, that the workplace is toxic to older women, and maybe that's changing slowly, or there's awareness.
Well, I think it's a big problem, and there are lots of reports actually coming out. There's a big one coming out that next week or this week actually now, and there's other ones coming out that I'm involved with, that highlighting the problem of ageism within the workplace and women being forced out of work. And it is something that needs to be addressed. We addressed it when it was problems with women when they were pregnant, problems with women in the menopause. There's been legislation and policies in place, and the next big thing is ageism in society, but also ageism in the workplace, because people are being forced out of work when they're 60, but they can't get the pensions till they're 70, and it's going to be even 80. So we need to make sure they've got a good quality of work-life balance.
Well, it's very important what you're saying, because I could not continue in the job I was in with the pressures at that age, and the thought of another 6-7 years just wasn't going to cut it. I would have died in the car. I still say to my children, I would have died driving home, because I was either in fast traffic or I was in the monotonous of traffic jams, taking ages to get home, and you lose consciousness and the will to live.
It's so true. And when I'm going around giving my talks about what I'm doing, my motorhome adventures and inspiring women to pro age, so many women wait to talk to me after the talks to say, I'm in that same place. I can relate. I'm having a difficult time at work, a difficult time in my life, struggling with the menopause. And I'm thinking, what the heck, what next? And I'm saying, well, I'm hopefully inspiring you to think you can have your own little adventures. You don't have to be as mad as me, give up your home and all your possessions, but have your own little adventures, like that little spark of things that you used to love before, and just revisit them.
So can I ask you then, what were the challenges? What were the obstacles, and what did you find most difficult about being on the road, or setting it up to be on the road?
Well, setting it up to be on the road was difficult, getting rid of all my possessions. It was something to be able to say to everybody, oh, I'm going to retire at 60, get rid of my home and buy a motorhome. But actually, when I sat down, and it was a couple of weeks going through all my belongings, all the old correspondence from various periods of my life, it was an emotional roller coaster. And I did keep thinking, oh my goodness, what am I doing? What am I doing? Can I do this? But I did do it. I got rid of it. I sold stuff. I gave bags of things to charity shops, and anything that was special, I took photographs of. So that was difficult. Also, just turning the key in the ignition and setting off that first day in September 2019, I remember being overwhelmed and goosebumpy and crying, driving down there thinking, what the heck are you doing? But I just knew somehow this was going to take me on a journey where my life was going to be better. I didn't know how, I didn't know where. And I kept saying, I'm going to go with the flow, and my plan is to have no plan. And that's really what I've done for the last 3.5 years. And I am the happiest. I've found my inner voice, my inner warrior. I feel strong. I feel I can help other women. And I don't know how that's happened, but I've just followed my intuition along the way, and I've met lots of good people who've wanted to help me. And I think fundamentally there are so many kind people that really do want to help.
Yeah, I believe you find what you're looking for, and the majority of people are good and kind. I can relate to that fear, but it is a dream I held for a long. Well, I still hold. I still have the bank.
Good.
But yeah, so it's interesting that we're having this discussion now, because I still hold that dream, that desire that I had when I was probably 14.
You're never too old. You're never too old to have that adventure. And that's one thing I keep saying to people. You can have that dream in some form. It doesn't have to be full time necessarily, but maybe get yourself a little van and just have experiences. Or, I don't know, but you'll find it.
What's the biggest benefit? You talked about freedom and adventure, and you found your voice. For all the other people out there watching this now and listening in, what is there? Have you got any stories, anecdotes, something that's really prime that people could relate to? Because the word freedom and finding your voice aren't as tangible as people's needs. The immediate need is to get away from what's holding you back.
And I think a lot of women, including myself for a long time, are self-limiting. We think, I can't do that. I can't afford to do that, or I'm not strong enough to do that, or I couldn't possibly drive a motorhome. It's far too big. All these fears I had, all these conversations in my head before I set off and after I set off. I used to pull up on the side of the road and phone my brother in tears going, I don't know if I can do this. And he'd say, look, just stay calm, go at the speed that you feel comfortable going at. If there's traffic building up behind you, then just pull over at the first opportunity, let them go past. And that's what I've done. And it's each little learning block like that. I've just had to overcome it. When you overcome it, you think, oh my goodness, I feel so much stronger. So when I say I've become the woman I always should have been, and I feel I'm a warrior, that's what I mean. Is I just feel that I've found the ability to look at a problem, break it down, work out a way of overcoming it, and then relishing that feeling afterwards that I've done it. Or I've also learned to not be afraid to ask for help. if I'm really stuck, because I used to be quite proud and I'm a strong woman, I don't need anybody. Yes, I do need people. We all need people. And so I'm not frightened to ask for help. So those are the two things I would say to people. Don't self-limit yourself by your fears. Just take a deep breath, put your big girl pants on and just go for it, and you can find a way through. And if you're still struggling, then don't be afraid to reach out for help. But I've had some fabulous experiences traveling around the country. The first time I saw a sunrise in the Yorkshire Dales, I just knew I'd done the right thing, running around the field, you know, early in the morning with the dew on the grass and just seeing the sunrise and just thinking, this is it, I'm free. And I felt so free. But I also used to sit and watch other people coming up in their motorhomes and watch what they did and learn how to fill my water tank and to connect to the electricity and all those kind of things. Because like I said, never holidayed in a motorhome. So, you know, I would say to people, give it a go, maybe even rent one for a while. If motorhoming is what your dream is, that may not be your dream, but if it is, rent one, go out and have a go. Initially, when I started this, I thought about inviting people, older women, to spend weekends with me as I traveled around the country, and then I was going to write their story, and that was going to be my book idea initially. But then COVID struck, and I was stuck twice, nearly 9 months of a year on my own in the motorhome. I did 4 months in Lancaster. Luckily, there was another couple from New Zealand, and we, at a distance, had a great time and did lots of walking and cycling. Second lockdown was a lot harder, both physically and psychologically, because it was sort of November to March time. And I was totally on my own in a field in Norfolk. And at one stage, I had to collect snow and melt it because my pipes had frozen. I didn't have any water, and I melted the snow, boiled it and used it for strip washes and making drinks and things. So again, I had a little cry at first when the pipes froze and thought, oh, what do I do? And I thought, go out and collect the snow. And I felt a bit like Bear Grylls then. It was exciting doing it and surviving.
Yeah, I think it's interesting how we can overcome things. We are very resourceful. And that was going to be one of my ideas that I wanted to talk to you about as you were talking, was loneliness, because you have to be happy with yourself, and if you're not, you soon learn to be.
You can be in a room full of lots and lots of people. You can be in the workplace. You can be at a family occasion and feel incredibly lonely, incredibly lost. And I've experienced those feelings. Now, I don't feel lonely at all. I don't think my brain's wired like other people. I do enjoy my own company. I also I'm capable of going out and seeking company if I want to. And I love getting to know local people, local cultures, and going out there and finding the people to talk to. So I spend a lot of time with people and talking to people. But then when I'm on my own, I enjoy being alone. I'm not lonely. I'm just alone.
And what about security? Because that's an issue for a lot of women just walking the streets, so alone, driving somewhere and backing up against a cliffside and looking out over the ocean, and then feeling like, well, you're the only person there.
Well, I don't do the parking up in lay-bys and car parks and things like that. That's just, for me, one step too far. What I tend to do is go to sites called CL sites and CS sites, and they're affiliated with the caravan clubs and the motorhome clubs. And basically, they only take 5 vehicles, motorhomes or caravans. And I stay in those because they're nice and small and I feel safe, but they're usually in lovely, quirky places. And I don't have to worry too much about security because there's usually a farmer or somebody around. But what I do is I've got my alarm, I've got my seat belts, I wind them round the handle of the front seats and put them in so you can't open the door. I've got a lock on the door onto the steering wheel, and the steering wheel, I've got a lock for the pedals. I've got a tracker. I've got all sorts of things that you would do locking up your house.
Yeah,
but I don't.
Yeah,
I don't. I was in a ground floor big apartment, and I don't feel as nervous as sometimes I felt there when I heard noises. So really, you just take your safety precautions like anybody else.
Yeah, that's good to know. That's good advice. So I'm sure there may be people thinking, well, maybe it's not so bad, or maybe it's possible. And I know you've written this book, you've mentioned it. So can you tell us a little bit about your book? And
I
very
just have
kind of
that copy here. It'll be back to front for you, but it's Retirement Rebel by Siobhan Daniels, and it's published by Vertebrate Publishing. And they've done a fabulous design on the front. It even feels like me when I look at it. There's in a chair in my motorhome, and I've got a little robin, because that's good luck for me, and a rainbow in the distance, because there's been a couple of occasions when I've had significant events and I've come across the most amazing rainbows, and I do feel when I see them that it's sort of a journey to the next phase of my life. But this is my book and I love it.
Oh, good. Thank you. That's really good, because it's hard. I've been through the journey of writing, and a lot of the women that I work with, the clients, they go into the arts or dance or theatre or music. They return to their hobbies, their childhood dreams, and often they want to write about what they've been through, or they want to be writers, and that's one of the things they can do. So that's
It's
writing a book
so
becomes.
exciting writing your own book and doing it. And I loved the fact that Vertebrate Publishing believed in me to let me write my story. It's no great piece of literature, but what it is, my story to be uplifting and to inspire other women, because I was broken in my mid-50s. I really was. I was just overwhelmed with life, for the reasons I've outlined at the beginning. But now at 63, I genuinely am the happiest that I've ever been in my life, and I do feel like I've got my voice, I've got my confidence. I don't think I'll ever let anybody or anything make me feel as broken as I felt in my mid-50s. And it is definitely, this nomadic life is suiting me. I can get out there, I can meet people, I can have my adventure, and I just love it.
That's good. I think one of the important things for me is this fulfillment, self-fulfillment. So, like you say, we limit ourselves, but the notion of being fulfilled is not quite the same as not limiting yourself. it's being filled up.
Well, I used to say I don't want to pretend anymore, because I was having to pretend, and then you aren't fulfilled, because you know all the time in your heart and in your head this isn't really what you want to do. Because I became a single mum when my daughter was 4, and so my focus on life wasn't adventures and traveling and things that I'd done before, was being a good mum and making sure I earned enough money and lived in the right places and got her in the right school. So I kind of put myself on the back burner. And I loved doing that. I loved being a mum. It's the best thing that I've done. And Sammy is just the most wonderful daughter. But I knew once she went to uni, I actually took a gap year from the BBC when I was 49 and packed a rucksack. She went off to uni. I packed a rucksack and went off around the world on my own. And I went traveling, and I had the most amazing time. And I found the excitement of travel again. And so it was that, knowing that I wanted to travel, but also feeling broken, and the two together made me come up with this idea of traveling in the motorhome. And that has made me fulfilled. And I do often sit and look out the window at the beautiful views where I'm parked up and think, this is my life. I am so incredibly lucky. And once I was walking along the cliffs by the Seven Sisters, and I remember crying and feeling goosebumpy. And the reason for that was because I was feeling happy. I suddenly realized, I looked back on the journey that I'd come from to where I was walking along those cliffs, looking out at the sea. And I just thought, I'm happy. I'm genuinely really happy. And I hadn't experienced that genuine happiness for a long time. That's what my daughter calls me, the happiness chaser.
Yeah.
That's what I was doing. I was chasing that fulfillment, that happiness. And I get it lots of times. Don't get me wrong. I have bad days like anybody. Just before the full moon now, I was feeling very agitated, very nervous, and thinking, oh, I felt as though something was going to go wrong. And now I'm in a good place again. So everybody has good and bad days. And this kind of life, I'm not saying it's all rosy, but it's definitely fulfilling me and bringing out the best in me and enabling me to go out there and shout from the rooftops that ageism is a problem and it needs sorting. It needs sorting now, because women are being forced into poverty. They're being forced to leave work at 60 when they can't afford to, because they're not getting the pensions.
No, there's a lot of sofa surfers, aged sofa surfers, and it doesn't help your body.
No,
that's fantastic. So we haven't got much time now, but I'd just love to know just how's your health and well-being? we've talked about the emotional and spiritual side, if you like, but how is your health and well-being? Is it a healthier life, do you feel?
It's definitely a healthier life. I think because I've not got central heating on all the time. I have the door of the motorhome open 90% of the time, even when there's snow. I just wear my woolly hats and thicker jumpers. But I'm definitely a lot healthier. But I'm still registered with my doctor in Tunbridge Wells because my daughter lives there. So I'm registered with my doctor and I get regular mammograms and bowel checks and things like that. I've just actually had to go for a colonoscopy and they found some polyps, which they had to remove. And so I still do all the checks and have the health scares because people say, oh, well, it's all right if you've got your health. But I'm just doing all the exact same things as everybody else. I've got a dodgy knee. And in fact, I'm heading back up to Kent to go and see the consultant tomorrow morning to have a look at my knee because I had an MRI scan that shows I've got bone on bone and arthritis. But I still strap it up, take some painkillers, and I'm off up the hills and walking and doing what I can do. So yes, I'm healthy. But I keep a check on it.
Yeah, no, that's good to know because people think perhaps a life of where there's limitation in food, perhaps that you can buy, or the small fridge, or the bed. Is the self-care is very important, isn't it? And it's
but
not a case of running away.
You make it sound the small fridge and things. I've got a nice size fridge freezer. I've got a microwave. I've got an oven, a grill, a hob. Or I've cooked a full Sunday roast. I shop like I shopped when I lived in my home. I've got everything that I need here. Honestly, it's like a kitchen area, a full-size shower, toilet. So look, it's all mod cons.
Yeah, I advise anybody who wants to think about this or has always thought about it is to go onto the internet and do some searches and look at the caravan clubs and motorhome clubs and things like that. But you're certainly a very good advocate for it. And I do understand all of the fears and tribulations, but I've also understand the wanderlust. I have to apologise because I keep losing my camera for some reason. I'm not sure why, but there I am again. So yeah. I'd just love to for you to tell people how they can find your book if they'd like to buy it. And also there's Christmas coming up, so it'd be great if people could have if you know somebody, give it as a gift. And also it would be really good if you could tell them how they could follow you on the internet, on social media, or your website. Yeah.
Well, my book, Retirement Rebel, again, is available for purchase on the Vertebrate publishing website, or Waterstones, WH Smith, Amazon, and if you could leave reviews on Amazon for me, that would be great. But a lot of people are buying them now for book clubs because it's getting that conversation going with women, because women don't talk about being unhappy in the workplace enough. They try and hide it, they contain it, and we need to talk about it, because then the elephant's out the room and people will start talking in the workplace and getting things changed. So they can get my book at those places. You also, there's my website, Siobhan Shuvoff. So it's SHUVON.co.uk, and there's a link to buy my book on that. I'm on Instagram, Siobhan Shuvoff. I'm on Twitter under Siobhan Daniels, and I'm on LinkedIn under Siobhan Daniels. So all those areas, but my website, siobhanshuvoff.co.uk, has got links to everything, and you can buy my book. And I hope people do buy it for all their friends for Christmas presents, because it is a great stocking filler, and also it's inspirational. It's to light that spark for people to age as positively as they can, because the narratives and things in society about aging are all anti-aging, and I want it to be pro-aging and enhance aging. I don't want anti-aging creams. I want creams that make me look the best that I possibly can, so I age. And if people say, oh, you look younger for your age, to tell me I look good, I say, no, this is what 63 looks like. You want to say, oh, you look good. Thank you very much. I take that compliment. But I don't need to be younger to look nice, and we don't need to behave younger to be validated. Old is good, and we need to embrace that. And that's what my book's trying to encourage people to do. I want young women not to fear getting old, and older women to embrace old and to live as positively as they can and have their adventures.
Yes, I totally agree. I'm pro-aging. I'm a positive ager. But I in my book, I do counteract it with people who are looking at anti-aging to try and understand the science behind it. So that's for another day. But you're very inspiring. I'd love to hear you talk one day. So if anyone wants to book Siobhan for a talk anywhere and she's around your area, then you can negotiate with her. And
oh yeah, any
you.
groups at all, I'd love to do talks. Sir Optimist, WI, women's luncheons, any of those. I do lots of talks around the country.
Lovely, lovely. I'm sure we'll talk again, Siobhan. And so thank you for coming today and for sharing your adventures, your wisdom, your experiences, and your heart with people. So thank you very much, Siobhan Daniels.
It's been my pleasure.
Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. I'm sorry my camera's gone off. Apparently it's not connected now. So I'm going to run off and do some techie work, and I'll see you all again soon. Thank you. Bye.